In this video, I'm gonna assemble this dragon. Now to make this easier, I'm gonna try out using this UV clay from Frozen. Now something that I personally am terrible at is sculpting or trying to fill in cracks. I've really not tried it that much, but when I have tried, it's been a failure. So what I'm hoping is that this right here makes it really, really easy and makes any cracks that may be in this model disappear. So with that, let's get going. All right, so first thing I'm gonna do is just see how this thing's gonna go together and if it needs any sanding. So let's do that really fast. First, let's check on this wing right here, just to give us an idea of like how I think this is all going to fit. Let's see here. Not too bad, a little bit of a gap there. What about on the inside? This isn't a video about how I do sanding, but just real quick, these are the little sanding sticks that I use. So I'm just gonna really quickly come in here and fill for any bumps. If there's anything, I'm just gonna get it down real quick. There's really not much sanding required for this guy at all, which is nice. So the biggest gap that I'm worried about is actually right here between the head and the neck. As you can see right here, there's quite a bit of wobbling between the two. If I flip it around, it's maybe a little bit better on this side, but still there's definitely a gap right there. I think that's where the UV clay is going to do the most good. But for now, let's get this sanded down, see if we can get a slightly better fit to begin with. This is where if I have these bumps that are left over, sometimes it's easier just to come in there and shave them off than it is to try to sand them down. I can always come back over with the sandpaper and just give them a quick smooth out real quickly. All right, so the first piece we're gonna glue up is going to be the neck. Let's just see how that fits. I think it's actually a decent fit. I feel a little bit of wobble in there, a little bit, so there's definitely gonna be some cracks to fill. And that was kind of after getting some sanding done, so I don't think I'm gonna be able to get rid of all of the cracks just with some sanding. So yeah, definitely the wax is gonna have some work to do. Now, one little trick that I do when I glue things together is I have just a little sheet of metal and then a little heat gun, and I like to get my parts a little bit warm before I use the glue. This just makes the glue set a little bit faster, and I don't wanna make them hot. I just wanna make them warm, because if they're hot, I'm gonna have some issues. So let's do that now. Get my little glue right here. Put just a little bit kind of around the edges. This is the big, it's gonna set really fast, so I have to be careful. I don't think I did the best job on that, to be honest. But the part's glued, it's not coming off, so now I can move on. Definitely got a gap right here that I wanna fill up on the back of the tail, so we'll make sure to hit that spot as well. Now, a bit of a pro tip, when you've got smooth surfaces like on this model, I do wanna add a little bit of a texture just so that the glue has something to bite onto. So I'm gonna go through on all the surfaces that I'm gonna be gluing. I'm just going to scuff it up just a little bit with my, this is my yellow, it's a little bit more coarse than the other ones. I'm just gonna go through and just scuff them, just so the glue holds on a little bit better. Make sure I put the wing on the correct side of the dragon. All right, now this one I wanna be careful with, because this is kind of important. On the back here, it looks okay, but here on the front, I've got a pretty decent gap right there. So I couldn't get it to like connect to both. It was like one or the other. And I chose to have the back slightly better than the front. Trying to do this while capturing it on camera definitely makes it a much bigger challenge for sure. But I think I got that wing on there okay. So before I keep going, I do want to ask if you could please like and subscribe to this video. It does really help out a lot to make content like this for you. So the biggest issue that I personally have with this dragon is how the head fit on the neck. So I think that's where I'm going to focus first, just to see if this stuff can fill in some of those gaps really, really easily. So when I paint it, they magically disappear. So first thing, let's find a position where I can set this guy. And you can see it, I can see it, everyone can see it, we're all happy. Let's open up my UV clay from Frozen. Now it says clay, but to me, honestly, it seems and feels more like a wax than a clay. It actually kind of reminds me of museum wax, but clay, whatever, it works. So I like to use this little scraper here to kind of try to scrape some of it out. It's a little gooey. It's almost like earwax, to be honest. It's kind of gross. All right, so now I get a little bit of knife, and I'll just kind of roll it to make a line. I can maybe even do that on the table. Just kind of roll. Like we're making old breadsticks or something. You probably can't see it, but there's a little line of wax here. So from that one, I'm now just going to kind of wrap it around the neck and see what goes from there. Let's use this little tool to kind of help me out here. Just gonna kind of push it into that seam there. I'll smooth it out later on, but for now I just want to get it in place. The bottom here on the neck is probably the biggest issue that we've got with it, trying to make sure that it's going to There's just a big gap there on the bottom. I may have to come back and add more. And then I can take this excess on the top here. You know, probably been easier to do this without the wings. I probably should have waited to glue the wings on first, but whatever. Get it under the spike right there. And then I don't need it there, but I probably need a little extra on the bottom. So I'll just kind of leave that there. All right, so now what I've got is this big gloop of wax that would look terrible if I painted over this because it'd be like this ring. So now I'm gonna try to do is push it down inside the crack there, get it to kind of fill up and see if I can kind of smooth it out over it and make it kind of blend into the texture. We'll see. Again, this is where I suck. I'm not a sculptor. I think someone with some sculpting skills could probably do a really good job with this. For me though, I'm just gonna try to smooth it out, make it look decent, just okay. I think that's the best I can probably do is decent. I think in the end, even a little bit of a bump would look better than a crack because, you know, bump, you could trick yourself that it's just, you know, part of a skin fold or something. But it being a big open crack, that's going to be pretty obvious and pretty eyesore-y. All right, now I'm just going to go through and push this wax into the crack throughout the head and just kind of smooth it out like this. There's probably better tools for this because this is not the best tool. Let's see. Let me try a smooth tool right here, see if that works better, just to kind of pull it into the crack right there, get rid of any excess wax. All right, let's get underneath the head there. Underneath the neck was the part that I was the least happy with my gluing job. And so far, it seems to be filling up really, really well. Pretty easy, actually. Maybe adding a bit of like a texture in the wax with this thing can kind of help make it not look so smooth so it doesn't look like it's a wax job. I don't know. Wax on, wax off. I keep saying wax, it's actually called clay, but I don't know, it feels and looks so much like wax to me. I got a lot up top. Let's try to get some of that out of here. All right, so I think I've got it around the neck kind of the way I want it, as good as I can do. It definitely does allow me to sculpt a little bit. It's a little bit challenging for me because I'm really bad at it and I probably don't have the right tools either. But I think, you know, I kind of dragged some lines through it to try to break it apart so it wasn't so smooth, so it doesn't look like I just stuck a bunch of wax on there and cured it. So I've made myself some coffee. I'm gonna put in my earbuds and listen to the final book of the Stormlight Archives, and I'm gonna finish this up. With that, let's see you in a little bit. All right, so now that I've got the dragon all waxed up, at least around the head where I want it, this is where things get pretty cool. Now, this UV clay, wax clay, it reacts to UV light. So now all I have to do is just turn on my UV flashlight and cure it, and all the stuff I just did can be sanded back again. It's going to help strengthen the dragon's head, so you know it's no longer just the glue that I applied. It's now the glue with this wax that cures pretty hard. And that's really gonna go pretty far as filling up these gaps and really making this look like a cohesive single model instead of a bunch of little pieces glued together by someone who has no clue what they're doing, which is me. I'm that somebody. All right, that's probably enough UV light. So let's see how it did. Let's poke it. Let's poke it with a stick. That's always the best thing to do. Oh, yeah, there's like a little bit of give in it, but it's pretty hard. Like I could sand it, which is actually pretty good. If I want to go in there and sand it down a little bit more, I definitely could. Now, one other aspect of this UV clay right here is the ability to actually make new objects. Now, what I did right here on this tail, right here, I added a spike right where the seam line was on the top. And I'm gonna cure it just to see how well that looks. Let's kind of clean it up a little bit. There we go, that kind of looks like the other ones. Let me cure that up and see how it works. Under the UV light, you can kind of see how it definitely shines a little differently than the resin next to it. All right, let's test this out. How does it work? Oh, that's nice and hard. That's not gonna move at all. So there you go, I've added a little extra spike to the tail. Okay, so I've got these two dragons here, all painted and primed and ready to inspect. Now, if we look at the pictures side by side, one thing to remember, this is like a macro lens I'm looking at here. It's going to really show the details, so you're definitely gonna see layer line that you're not gonna see with your naked eye. But hopefully with these images, you can still see the difference is quite stark. Didn't take me that long to go through and fully prepare this model before I started painting it. I think, to be honest, if you're someone who takes a really long time on painting your products, that's where 99% of your hours go. Something like this, you know, taking a couple hours to go through and do a really good job, maybe even a better job than I did, is really probably a low price to pay for having something that can really benefit the look of your final product as much as this does. Now looking at these two models here with the naked eye, I can definitely see the seam lines on this one, especially around the head, around the wings, the tail, the shoulders, pretty much all the seam lines I can see with the naked eye. It's like a little dark spot where the, that especially the black primer that I did kind of seeped into. And so I think it actually made it worse after dry brushing. The seams are definitely visible here. On this model, I can kind of see where they were. I really have to know where to look. If I wasn't sure what I was looking at, I'm not sure I would see them. Around the head, it's pretty much completely gone. Around the wings especially, really good on that one. I'm very impressed with how it kind of filled in those and made a nice layer for it. I can see a little bit of a seam kind of on the top, but really it's mostly just because I know what I'm looking for, and also I couldn't really get the dry brush down inside. I think if a normal paint job, it might even do a better job at concealing those. As far as the tail is concerned and my extra little spike that I added, the seam lines are completely gone. It looks like one continuous piece. I think if I were to see this on the shelf, I would wonder if it was 3D printed, or if I knew what to look for on a 3D printed model, I would at least think it was printed maybe as a solid piece, and I would still be quite impressed. With this one, I can definitely see where each piece was. Overall, I would say I am definitely a big fan of this product. It's a little bit hard to use, maybe it's slightly bit tacky, but over time, I'm sure I could get better at using it and make it a lot faster. The other part that I really need to consider is that this is going to be much more structurally strong than this one is. They both are using the same glue, which is a very strong glue. I've had really good luck with it in the past, but adding an extra layer of this to kind of fill in the seams and kind of, build them up almost like welding and curing it, it does cure quite hard. I think this one is going to be a lot more stable than this one is. Now, if you'd like to get these dragons yourself, you can find the file on the Lychee Library. You're going to look for rescale miniatures, and then you're going to look for the green dragon. Now, let me know in the comments below if you like seeing content like this. I can always try to get more of these like small little product reviews or just these little demos. I also want to let you know that this product isn't actually sponsored by Phrozen. I bought these two resins myself. They did send me this, but I wasn't expecting it. It just showed up in the mail one day, and I reached out to them like, hey, what's this? Like, oh yeah, we sent that too. Let us know if you like it or not. And I decided I would do this little video, and to be honest, in the end, I actually really do like it. It's very impressive. And as always, I'd like to say thank you for watching, and have a good day.